Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about the arrest of Delhi CM Kejriwal, the implications, and whether it can be justified or not. Whether it can be justified or not. Before we go to the analysis and vocabulary, the question what is enrichment from today's session? You will improve your comprehension skill, your vocabulary to a great extent. You can consolidate your grammar knowledge. You can learn effective English, a few idioms and phrasal verbs, and you're going to work on mini mocks. Let us start with the question what is this editorial about? This editorial discusses the ongoing incarceration, an important word. It means imprisonment. Ongoing incarceration of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal amidst a general election. Both mean the same. There are two words you have to know. One is this, midst and amidst. Both mean the same in the middle of. In the middle of something. In this context, in the middle of what? In the middle of general elections. This is about, as I said, the Delhi CM's arrest, implications, whether it can be justified or not. How to guess a broad framework? How or why? Why was he arrested? When was he arrested? The timing of the arrest and the implications. All these you have to think of. Please give me a second. I hope streaming is on. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is a critical and questioning. One is criticizing, the other one is questioning whether his arrest can be justified or not. Today, also, a lot of words are there. It may take a lot of time. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Morning 6:30 session. Let's see how it goes. The very first word, an important word, incarceration. Incarceration, noun, meaning the act of putting someone in prison or in another institution where they are deprived of their freedom. But generally, it goes with prison, imprisonment. Synonyms: imprisonment, confinement, detention, custody, imprisonment, repeated. But here we can also say restriction. One more word. Of these words, imprisonment, obviously, that is a meaning. Confinement, confine someone to some place, important. Detain is a verb. Detention is a noun form. Custody, a simple word. Antonyms: freedom, release, liberation. Liberation, an important word. Example: after being found guilty of the crime, he faced a lengthy period of incarceration. Guilty of the crime means it has been proven that he has committed crime. Then we say guilty. Then the person is convicted. And what was the conviction? A lengthy period of incarceration, or it is like imprisonment. The second word, prosecute. Prosecute, verb, meaning to institute legal proceedings against someone, typically in a court of law, in order to bring a criminal charge against them. The trial in the court, you can say. And what are the synonyms? Sue. I'm sure you all know that. Indict, not indict, indict. Indict, indictment, an important word. Blame someone officially that someone has committed crime. Bring to trial, as I've just said. Legal action against. Antonyms: defend, exonerate, an important word. Exonerate means stop blaming someone. Stop blaming or accusing someone. To be free of blame, an important word. What is the word? Exonerate. Effective English, one has to know and remember. Acquit, we have got so many times. Convict, acquit, innocent, guilty. Example: The district attorney decided to prosecute the suspect for embezzlement, an important word, due to the overwhelming evidence against him. Overwhelming, a lot. Embezzle, an important word. You should also think of another word, swindle. And there's one important idiom has been given many a time, feather one's own nest. What do they mean? Someone takes the company's money or money of the company and uses for personal gains, then embezzlement, swindling of money, and also feather one's own nest. This is an important idiom one has to know. Exactly, very good. Who is that? I do. Regime, we have got many a time, but new format I thought would be useful, meaning a government, especially an authoritarian one. Based on that, we have the antonyms. Synonyms, government, administration, ruling body, authority. But antonyms, democracy, liberty, freedom. Based on authoritarian one, opposite words, democracy, liberty, and freedom. Example, the new regime promised a sweeping changes, an important expression. Sweeping changes means on a large scale, but many remain skeptical. Skeptical, an important word. Skeptic, one who doubts. One who doubts someone or something, skeptic. And skeptical of their intentions means doubtful. But here you have to recollect another word, cynical. Cynical means pessimistic. Both are entirely different. Skeptical, nothing wrong. But cynical, definitely not acceptable. Pessimistic. Dubious, doubtful, very good. Who is that? Anisha. Adversary, part of speech noun, meaning adversaries are opponents or enemies in a conflict, contest, or struggle. Someone who is on the other side opposing you, adversary. Synonyms, opponents, rivals, an important word. For enemies, we say foes, that's an important word. Friends and foes, an important expression you have to know. You should know who your friends are and who your foes are, means enemies are. Antagonist, again an important word. Antagonistic, antagonistic means hostile. You should also recollect the word enmity. All these are important words. What are the antonyms? Allies, friends, supporters, comrades. Example, despite of, you have to recollect, not correct. Despite being adversaries in court, outside of work, they maintained a respectful relationship or a healthy relationship. Kickbacks, an important word, quite often you come across in the newspapers, meaning kickbacks are illicit. Illicit means illegal. Payments made to someone often in return for a favor or preferential treatment. Someone receives amount to do a particular favor, that is known as kickback. And it goes with someone who is in power. Synonyms, bribery, bribery we all know, corruption, bribe. Graft is an important word. Sometimes it is also used. Payoff is also important. Backhander, important. Under the table payment, easy to understand. Antonyms, transparency, integrity, honesty, and also an important idiom, last week also I gave, above board, means honest. Example, the company executive was arrested for accepting kickbacks from contractors in exchange for awarding them a lucrative contracts. There's one word here, lucrative. An important word, part of speech adjective, means what? Profitable. Lucrative business, profitable business. Grease the palm, very good. Tripura Sundari. Vitiating, an important word, part of speech verb, meaning vitiating refers to the process of spoiling. Simply you can remember spoil. or impair, damage something's quality, effectiveness, or validity. Synonyms: spoiling, contaminating, that goes with pollution. Impairing, we got last week. Ruining, compromising. But here, ruin as a verb, to spoil. But you should also know the word ruins, noun form. Ruins goes with monuments. When you visit a monument, you may not see the entire monument. You may see the remains of the monument. Then we use the word ruins of the building or ruins of the monument. That's an important word you have to know. Antonyms: enhancing, we got last week also. Improving, strengthening. The presence of fraud, from that you get fraudulent data, vitiated, spoiled, or impaired or damaged, the results of the experiment, rendering, making them useless for analysis. Adverse, we have got many a time, part of speech adjective, meaning adverse describes something harmful, unfavorable, more than harmful, unfavorable, working against one's interests or goals. Synonyms: unfavorable, detrimental, an important word. Detrimental means harmful. Hostile, I have just given. Negative, damaging. These words are very important. Antonyms: favorable, advantageous, beneficial, positive. Simple words. The adverse weather conditions force the cancellation of the outdoor event. Adverse report. Usually I give the example adverse report. Here we have another combination. Adverse weather conditions. Effects also you can say, Anusha, yes. Adverse effects. Implications, part of speech noun, meaning the potential consequences or effects of a decision, action, or situation. The impact. Synonyms: consequences, ramifications, an important word, repercussions, an important word, effects or outcomes. Generally, ramifications, repercussions, they have negative connotations. And other words are consequences also negative. Effects could be positive, could be negative, neutral. Outcome could be positive, could be negative. Antonyms: causes, origins, reasons. The implications of the new policies on the economy, the implications of the new policy on the economy are yet to be fully understood. This is passive voice. Yet to understand, active voice. Yet to be understood, passive voice. Liability, an important word, has two different meanings. One meaning, liability refers to a legal responsibility for one's actions or debts. You're answerable, then it is your liability. Synonyms: obligation, responsibility, accountability, burden, culpability. Culpable offense, you have to recollect. Culpable offense, worthy of being guilty. And what are the antonyms? Asset, advantage, benefit, immunity. Asset, two words you have to remember. Other words are rather easy. But here, liability also means something like burden. This is what I wanted to tell you guys. He has become a liability. It has become a liability. Means a sort of burden. But typical meaning, liability refers to legal responsibility. Example, the company faced a financial ruin due to its liability for environmental damages caused by its operations. A good sentence. But here, one word, asset. Asset goes with things, it also goes with persons. Someone is quite efficient, contributes a lot to the company. Then we say he's an asset to the organization. He is an asset to the company. Piecemeal approach, that means adjective, obviously. Piecemeal describes something done or occurring in small, incremental steps or stages. Synonyms: gradual, incremental, slowly happening, bit by bit, step by step, partial. Antonyms: whole, complete, all at once, comprehensive. The other day we got the word comprehensive, exhaustive, and holistic. You have to recollect. The renovation, reshaping, bringing back the original shape. The renovation project proceeded piecemeal, with each room being worked on separately. Not all entire house one time, each room one time. That means piecemeal approach. Denial, deny verb, denial noun. Meaning, denial is a refusal to accept or acknowledge something that is true or factual. One meaning, a refusal to accept. And deny also means refuse something like an offer. Synonyms: rejection, refusal, repudiation, an important word, negation, already we have got many a time, disbelief. Antonyms: acceptance, acknowledgement, admission, affirmation. Despite overwhelming evidence, he remained in a state of denial about his addiction problems. Yes, separate good. You got to be careful with spelling. Tenable, tenable argument, part of speech adjective, or tenable proposal, tenable stand. Tenable means capable of being defended or justified. Something you can justify, then it is tenable, especially in an argument or debate. Synonyms: defensible, reasonable, justifiable. I use this quite often. Plausible, also an important word. Sustainable goes with environment, a different connotation altogether. Antonyms: unreasonable, indefensible, untenable, unsustainable. Example: his theory is not tenable in the light of the new evidence that has emerged. Means his theory cannot be justified. Subversion, the last word, part of speech noun, an important word though. Subversion refers to the act of undermining. Undermining means what? Weakening or destabilizing something, especially a government, typically an established system, authority, or government. Synonyms: undermining, important word, sabotage, an important word, destabilization, treachery, an important word, rebellion. All these words you have to spend some time and remember. Antonyms: support, reinforcement, loyalty, compliance. These words already we have got many a time, but still important words. The group was accused of engaging in acts of subversion aimed at overthrowing the government. That's all about the editorial vocabulary. It has taken almost 18 minutes. Let us go to the stimulus. What is the stimulus to write this editorial? Poll time, present time. Poll time means election time, generally speaking, general elections, and present time for the Delhi CM, Kejriwal, on the continued incarceration, continued imprisonment of the Delhi Chief Minister. But what is the main idea of this editorial? Kejriwal's continuing imprisonment casts a shadow on election campaign, casts, throws a shadow, puts a shadow on election campaign. Because he is in the prison, he cannot go in for campaigning, that is one thing. And generally also, the editor opines, arresting the CM of a particular state at the time of general elections, definitely it casts a shadow on the whole thing, election campaign, also whether it can be justified or not. And at the outset, I would like to tell you guys very clearly, in a crystal clear manner, whatever I say here, based on whatever has been written, whatever is there in the editorial, nothing personal, no subject to stand, no subject to statement, everything is objective based on the editorial. Do remember, the continued incarceration of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the midst of a general election highlights the hard political realities that seem to determine which leader gets prosecuted or arrested on allegations of corruption. This is obviously criticizing the tone, criticizing not directly, indirectly the government, the center. The continued incarceration of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the midst of a general election, from here to here, is a subject. Something highlights. What is the verb here? Highlights. And because here continued incarceration, this is the actual noun phrase, the subject, incarceration. keyword, noun. But after that, whatever goes with this one, part of the subject, highlights the hard political realities, something not acceptable, that seem to determine which leader gets prosecuted or legally tried or arrested on allegations of corruption. In a way, the sentence says, because it is general election time, based on the opposition, based on to what extent they are at loggerheads, arrest depends on that. Over the decades, it has become clear that only an unfriendly regime usually pursues charges against key political rivals. Over the decades, an important phrase. When you talk about over the decades, over the years, you have to recollect present perfect tense from the past to the present. Based on that here, present perfect tense. Over the decades, it has become clear that only an unfriendly regime government usually pursues charges against key political rivals, opponents, and that the status of relations between the party and that runs the government of the day and those facing such charges dictates the course of action for supposedly independent agencies. What does this sentence means? The relation between the ruling government or the incumbent government and those who are in the opposite on the opposite side or in the opposition, the relation between or the status of relations decides the course of direction of the enforcement agencies or independent agencies. In a way, the sentence says dictates the course of action, the relations between the party that runs the government of the day and those facing charges. Obviously, those are in the opposition. The relations dictates the course of action for supposedly independent agencies. They take action based on that. And to substantiate that, this sentence says that the number takes a singular verb. The number of leaders whose offenses are forgotten as soon as they join the ruling party or become an ally is increasing. The number is increasing. Look at the sentence. These sentences are very important. The number is increasing, but between the subject and the verb, you have a lot of words. To add more information, phrases have been used. Of leaders whose offenses are forgotten. Here it is a clause. As soon as they join the ruling party or become an ally, two clauses have been used. Is increasing, while jail time is reserved for adversaries. Every sentence is like negative tone, negative connotation. It says the number of leaders, those who join the party, the government, ruling party, once they become allies or friends, the cases are withdrawn and they go scot free, means escape punishment. On the other hand, the jail time is reserved for adversaries, those who oppose, those who don't join the ruling party. This is the stand taken by the editorial, mind you guys. If Mr. Kejriwal's case, there is an astounding, we got this the other day, astonishing, astounding, flabbergasting, amazing, spectacular, astounding element of politics vitiating, spoiling his arrest and prosecution for allegedly taking kickbacks to formulate a liquor policy favorable to the industry. When it comes to the Delhi CM, in Mr. Kejriwal's case, there is an astounding element of politics vitiating, element of politics spoiling his arrest and prosecution for allegedly taking kickbacks to formulate a liquor policy favorable to the industry. Mr. Kejriwal, who leads the Aam Aadmi Party, has been denied, here it is in present perfect passive voice, has been denied participation in the campaign for the general election. Main idea is being reiterated, cast a shadow on campaigning. Because he has been arrested, he cannot campaign, has been denied participation in the campaign for the general election. The adverse implications, negative implications or consequences of his absence are quite obvious. Imagine there is a party, the party head is in jail or in the prison, and that too the CM, incumbent CM, he is in the prison. It makes a tremendous negative impact on the campaigning. It makes adverse implications of his absence are quite obvious. Even though there is no law that spares politicians from criminal liability in election time. This part says there is no law to spare politicians, to leave politicians to make them go out at the time of the election from criminal liability. See, even though there is no law that spares politicians from criminal liability in election time, there is no rule, there is no law as such. Election time, not election time, it doesn't matter. Once the person is arrested and charges have been formed, he has to go to the process, the trial. The Delhi excise policy case was registered in August 2022. The CBI and the Enforcement Directorate have filed charge sheets, present perfect active voice, but the investigation has been continuing piecemeal. Has been continuing, an important tense, present perfect continuous tense. When do we use actions begin in the past, come to the present, may go into future? Still, it is going on. Has been continuing piecemeal means bits and pieces, one part at a time. Witnesses have been giving multiple statements. Again, present perfect active voice. The present perfect continuous active voice. Witnesses have been giving multiple statements, with each one containing newer material. The power to arrest a suspect. Second part talks about to what extent. Now, so far you have seen what has been going on. Now the second part talks about whether it can be justified or not. The power to arrest a suspect exists only to prevent suspects from fleeing justice, running away from justice, influencing or threatening witnesses, and tampering, spoiling with manipulating evidence with evidence, or repeating a crime. When does the power to arrest a suspect exist? It exists only to prevent certain things. What are those things? Fleeing from justice, influencing or threatening witnesses, tampering with evidence, or repeating a crime. There is a huge gap between the power to arrest and the necessity to arrest. There are two things. One is the necessity to arrest. Second one, the power to arrest. Both are entirely different. It is a disturbing reality that political leaders have been arrested, present perfect passive voice, in this case on the basis of statements made by approvers and not any independent witnesses. All those who have been arrested in this particular case have been arrested based on the statements given by or made by approvers, and as such, not based on any independent witnesses, no witnesses, but the statements given by the approvers. Based on those statements, all these people have been arrested. The timing of the arrest has also become an issue of substance. We can also say here the timing of the arrest has also become, again, present perfect tense, active voice, has also become an issue of controversy, an issue of controversy, a substance. That Mr. Kejriwal did not respond to multiple ED summonses. Very important. Summons singular, summonses plural. This you have to remember at any cost. That Mr. Kejriwal did not respond to multiple ED summonses may be cited or quoted as a reason for his being arrested now rather than months ago. Those who don't know the background, ED has sent summonses many a time to the Delhi CM, but he never responded. Now they may give this as an example, quote this as an example. Why was he arrested? Because he did not respond to many of the summonses given by the ED. However, this expectation that the accused should cooperate with the investigation agency is quite peculiar. Editorial says expecting the accused to cooperate with the agency is peculiar. Usually they don't cooperate. Because of that, expecting the accused to cooperate is something peculiar. Agencies ought to be able to, I have told many a time, outdated, ought to be able to prosecute people without their statements. They have to prosecute based on the evidence or witnesses, but not based on the statements. It is known that we know something, we know it, it is known. Here, present tense, passive voice, an important pattern you have to remember. It is known that Section 50 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act has been weaponized, again, negative connotation, has been weaponized the present perfect passive voice by the ED to record a statement that is admissible and then record the person's arrest. Record a statement, then based on that, record up the person's arrest. Whether non appearance in response to summons is a ground for arrest, at the fag end of the editorial, questioning whether it can be justified or not, whether non appearance in response to summons is a ground for arrest, reason for arrest, and denial of refusal of bail is a question that has been arisen in this case. Two questions. One, because he did not respond, can he be arrested? First question. And once arrested, can he be denied the bail? Another question. Equally tenable, equally justifiable, the other side of the picture. Equally tenable is a question whether arresting serving chief ministers through central agencies and keeping them in prison throughout a multi-phase election does not amount to subversion of federalism and democracy. Other argument says arresting the chief ministers through central agencies and keeping them in prison throughout a multiple phase election does not amount to subversion, damaging or attacking or overthrowing of federalism and democracy. Another argument. This is all about the editorial, and I've launched 4 courses. This actually I said 1st May, but I'll be launching on 5th May, bilingual in English and Telugu. This one only in English on 5th May. Besides these two, mains course for the first time, a different approach, not questions and answers, but covers reading comprehension skill based on sleeps, vocabulary strategies, advanced grammar, along with important exam topics. Vocab strategies like word profiles, mind maps, all these roots, advanced grammar, along with important exam topics that go with mains. This is bilingual. More details I'll be coming up with a video. Then you will be getting. I'm launching on 4th May. Mains course for all bank exams. Move beyond the mains. Many people get stuck with mains. Move beyond the mains. And this is unique because it is not questions and answers. It is based on imparting the skills, reading comprehension skill, vocabulary strategies, advanced grammar, along with important exam topics that go with the mains. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Do remember to subscribe and share.